Mijita, don't get married. Don't get married, don't have children, continue your education. And what she was telling me, it wasn't that she fiercely loved her children, loved them to death, and would have done anything for them. But what she was telling me was that the key to my future, the key to being able to decide what happens in my life is control over my own body and deciding when I become a parent and if I want to become a parent. So even when I graduated from college, she told me, Mijita, don't have a boyfriend. don't get married, continue with your education. And I mean, I took her seriously. I just had a baby six and a half months ago at the age of 37. And I am so proud to have been able to have become a mother, right? I love my daughter. And I want to make sure that she has a future where she can make those decisions for herself, where she can decide if she wants to become a parent. And right now it is very clear where we are. And voters across this state are recognizing the problems that we have, the situation that we are in. We do not have access to abortion care in this state. That means that it doesn't matter if you have been a victim of rape, it doesn't matter if you've been a victim of incest, it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. You do not have access to this very important procedure that will change the course of your life. More than that, the person I am running against, Ken Paxton, he sued to stop doctors from providing life-saving care in an emergency room. So what does that mean? What are the realities that we are facing? That means that if you are miscarrying in the state of Texas, a doctor cannot provide you care until you are almost septic or on your deathbed. That is the reality that we are facing. And I have spoken with physicians across this state, and the fears, the very real fears of going to prison for life, and the very ugly realities that we're seeing on the ground. You know, people who are forced to stay in hospital until they're almost septic. People that are being forced to carry to term a pregnancy that will not survive and incur financial burden and emotional trauma. And more than that, this is going to be a very difficult economic future we are facing as Texans, because it's not just about controlling your own body. It's not just about your health care. It's about the economic future of this state, because physicians will be leaving the state of Texas because they cannot provide the standard of care and they are too afraid. And that's the reality we are facing. This is why it's so important. It touches every single issue. And if we want to protect the future of Texas, we need to protect access to abortion care, we need to protect women, we need to protect equality, because that's what this is about.
And the second question is, it was a bit touched, but currently abortion clinics are being bombarded with efforts to become defunded by the radical right-wing extremists. In fact, in Congress, bills have already been introduced defunding Planned Parenthood, while states leader like Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton have championed efforts to exclude Planned Parenthood from medical coverage and further limit doctors' ability to treat their patients, putting more Texans in potentially deadly situations before care is able to legally be given. If elected, how will you combat barriers to reproductive health care?
So right now we are pushing for the whole Women's Health Act in the House. And what this would do is make sure that women are protected to have that care. But not just that, doctors and nurses and everything that the fall of Roe suddenly brought to the surface of how women don't have access to this care that they need, it will be reinstated. So we are working with people already across the country in order to make this happen, because members of Congress are there to fight for their constituents. And I know that's exactly what I'm planning to do. I'm going there to fight for my home. And I am also looking to work with people across the aisle. I know it sounds and seems crazy that Republicans are completely against abortion. And in the case of Texas 15, that's what we're seeing with my opponent, Monica de la Cruz. And it's important that not only are women protected to have access to abortion, but also birth control. Because right now, that's on the chopping block as well. And there is another legislation, which is the Birth Control Act, and this is to make sure that women have that access to birth control. These are things that for us have been very intimate, very private. So it is jarring, it is a hard conversation to have, but I want to encourage everybody to start having them and to start practicing how to have these conversations with your families and your friends, because that's the only way we could fight back, by speaking up, and that's what it starts with. And here in this race, I think this is something that we're doing already. We are fighting back, and we are here to make our voices heard. And I already feel like I am fighting for my community. I'm here to represent my home, and I'm here to make sure that little girls are protected and have a future where they're treated with dignity and have every opportunity that everybody else has in this country. When a woman is told what they can and cannot do with their bodies, they are less equal citizens. That is what the reality is right now, especially here in Texas, and that's why we're in this fight.
So as Attorney General, I would be the top legal officer of the state of Texas. And that comes with it independent constitutional power. So I could act independent of the governor, the lieutenant governor, the legislature, which has been threatening to pass some unconstitutional laws. I would be essentially a check on these extreme bans, these extreme laws that are being considered. You know, one of the laws that is being considered is preventing people from leaving the state to access abortion care. You know, the Texas Freedom Caucus sent a letter to a law firm that had offered to pay for, you know, anyone in their office that needed access to abortion care to leave the state of Texas. That is unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional. We are not prisoners in our own state. We have a right to travel, and I would make sure to use the powers of the office to be that check on there. So I would issue an opinion saying this is unconstitutional, and that would have the effect of addressing what the agencies of the state of Texas can do. So it doesn't have the effect of law, but it has the effect of telling the agencies, y'all can't enforce this. So it's really important to also protect access to contraception, as was mentioned. I just want to be clear on what happened with the fall of Roe in the Dobbs decision. Justice Thomas made it very clear that he would like to see contraception revisited. That's a constitutional right that we have. You know, there are a few other constitutional rights that come from there, marriage equality being one of them, interracial marriage being another, the right to contraception. Ken Paxton has made it very clear that he would challenge marriage equality. And I would not find it far-fetched if he wanted to challenge any of the other laws that we enjoy today. So, you know, I think it's very important to understand that this position could be critical to protect civil rights, that I am in the closest statewide race that we have, and the best opportunity Democrats have had in almost 30 years. And that I will be using this position to look out for us, to protect our daughters, to protect our families, and to make sure that we take care of people, because that's what we need from government. We don't need culture wars. We need actual work. We need services.
Thank you. And Michelle mentioned that she feels that she's doing something already, and I want to say that you guys are doing something already, just by being candidates that are willing to fight for something that truly is not being talked about. Nobody's really fighting for us, so thank you for being those candidates. So with the next question, as you both know, laws promoting insurance coverage of contraceptions are crucial to insurance, the comprehensive reproductive health care. And the Affordable Care Act's contraceptive coverage policy ensured that birth control options would be covered with no copay. Although this policy is in danger at the federal level, state anti-choice legislators have also supported parenthood, measures that would not only make abortions illegal, but also ban many forms of birth control. If elected, what will you do to ensure access birth control to everyone?
So first thing we need to do is vote for Democrats, because those are the only people who will protect our rights. That's the first thing we need to do. And when it comes to federal office and when it comes to running for Congress, we need to hold on to the House majority. And the pathway to do that is through Texas District 15.
That's right.
We are an extremely powerful voting bloc, especially in this election. This race is the #1 most competitive congressional seat in the state of Texas. Nationwide, it has jumped from being top 10 to being top 5 most competitive. And what we need is to hold this House majority, because we need to pass legislation at the federal level that will protect our right to contraception. And this will be something that impacts everybody across our country. But what I'm thinking about is the people of South Texas. I'm thinking about my primas. I'm thinking about the families at the pulga that I serve for so many years, that I've grown up with, because I know that the first person who will be hurt by this the most are the people who are most marginalized, the people that are living day by day, the people that don't have a car to get to the doctor, the people who are living in our communities who need a voice and need someone to be fighting for them. So first things first, vote for Democrats. Second thing, hold the House majority. So I really do need your help to get the word out, to vote for Michelle Vallejo, because it is very clear in this race that my opponent is not out to protect our families, is not out to stand up for women, and is willing to risk our access to birth control, to contraception, which seems like something that is out of this world. I cannot believe this is on the chopping block, but I'm so grateful for my community, for seeing a leader in me to stand up for this fight, because it's become even more critical with the folding back of our rights in just the past few months. And if we don't do something, if we don't stand up for ourselves, if we don't fight back, we're gonna lose even more. Thank you.
I just want to put an exclamation point on what Michelle just said. This is the most competitive congressional district in the state of Texas. That means that your voices can change the course of the country when it comes to the House. What an incredible position to be in. I'm proud of that. I mean, I'm proud of Michelle for doing what she's doing. I mean, she's gonna stand up for us in Congress. We need that. We need people that care, that see us, that see our problems, that are gonna come up with the solutions to protect us. So I just want to put a point on that. Our voices are going to change the course of the country. So we need Michelle. And I know I preempted the question, so but I think there are a few things I want to talk about in terms of maternal health. I mean, we're from the Valley. I know how challenging it is to access health care. I grew up with a sibling with disabilities, and we had to leave the state to get my brother, we had to leave the Valley to get my brother Robbie health care. Drive 4 hours north to San Antonio. A lot of people in our region don't have access to specialists. So healthcare is critically important. This is an important healthcare issue. Half of the rural counties in the state of Texas don't have access to a gynecologist. Texas has been called one of the most dangerous places to be pregnant. And we are at the bottom of maternal mortality. We are the worst with maternal mortality. So that is not the reality that I think any of us want. And we need to have more support for infrastructure. We need to have anti-poverty measures. We need to make sure our economy is diversified so that we can have better jobs that give us access to healthcare. And we need to have accountability for our elected officials, because some of those people don't give a damn about us.
Thank you. Yes, it's very important to vote, and sometimes I think we underestimate how our own community is suffering because sometimes we don't go out and vote. And remembering that it's within our power to create and reform our environment. So thank you. And with that, paid family leave is a critical component of the reproductive freedom, but currently the Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993 only requires larger employees to allow a new parent up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave after the birth of a child. If elected, are you committed to ensuring that the new parents are equally provided the opportunity to have quality time to nurture their children without fear of financial insecurity?
Absolutely. Our families, our parents deserve every bit of support because they're raising our future leaders. The children that are growing in our communities are people that we need to all protect and defend and make sure that the world that they're growing up in is better than the one that we were growing up in. I think it's also important to recognize that right now at the federal level, organizations and companies with 50 or more employees are the only ones who are required to provide paid family leave. And that is a burden. That is very challenging, especially for people who are working in smaller businesses, people who are working in more local businesses. And for me, I have those in my heart. And so I think it's time that we defend our small businesses, we incentivize our small businesses, and make it easier for our small business owners to provide that relief, to provide that time and paid leave to their employees. I am so excited to get to Congress because I have so much to share when it comes to the challenges and burdens that small businesses have. Small business owners themselves should be provided resources and availability for them to have families too. So there's a lot of room for solutions, but what I also love to talk about is opportunity. There's so much opportunity when it comes to providing paid leave for our families and supporting them in the most crucial times, which is when they are welcoming a new member into their family, which is a beautiful moment. But for so many, it's crushing because they don't get to spend enough time with their children, they don't have enough money to have a stable household, and unfortunately they experience a lot of trauma in the time when their family is growing, which to me is one of the sweetest experiences. I'm thinking about all the new little babies that are born in my own family, and I know our families across South Texas are experiencing that. But it should be an experience that's easier and where people are able to have those bonding moments that are so critical for mothers and parents to have with their babies.
So I just had a baby. I think I already mentioned that. My daughter is now 6.5 months old, and she's so chunky right now. It's great. But I recognize through this experience that I've had, and it's a very personal experience, that yes, we need to be supporting families, and I didn't realize it until I was going through it, just how critical this period of time is, right? And thinking about the challenges that people are facing, having to go back to work after a couple of weeks with their newborn. It's not enough time. It's not enough time to nurture a new life, to bond with a child, and to also be able to nurse your child if you can. That is one of the things that I realized when we had this shortage of formula, and recognizing that there are a lot of people across the state of Texas, across this country, that would love to nurse their children, but they can't because they have to go back to work. And they're not being given the space to do that. So there are really important health outcomes that nursing your child can do. It reduces the rates of diabetes later on in life for adults, and it leads to healthier outcomes for your children. And we know that the healthcare challenges that we've got here in the Valley. So we can address these issues if we have paid family leave, if we provide support to families to make sure that they can take care of their children and take care of themselves when they're just trying to get better from giving birth. So what we've seen is that, and this is where the Attorney General's office can come into play, we've seen cities and counties come up with solutions. The city of Austin came up with a paid family leave program. And that's incredible that they can do that. And I would be supportive as Attorney General to the local communities, local governments that are trying to enact these kinds of laws to protect folks and to make sure that they have expanded access. I can assure you that if Ken Paxton remains in office, he will not. He does not respect local communities and their ability to decide what is in the best interests of their constituencies. But I trust local communities to make the decisions that make sense for them. And I will be a support to everyone who wants to expand paid family leave on the local level.
Thank you so much. And absolutely, I think, Rochelle, you highlight how here in the Valley we have a culture of, it's very family centered. So thank you for talking about that and how this issue really concerns everyone. And with the overturn of Roe v. Wade, Texans who want to access to abortion will have to travel over state lines to reach the nearest clinic. Some businesses have offered to reimburse employees who need to leave their home states in search of legal abortion. However, some Texan Republicans have responded that they intend to introduce state legislation to penalize those companies. And how would you respond to these efforts to safeguard businesses that believe a woman's right to choose should be protected?
So at the federal level, what we could do is make sure that we are empowering organizations, companies, and business owners to make the right choice, to stand by the women that they employ, and to be someone who could provide solutions to their families. And so this means incentivizing businesses and making sure that they have maybe tax benefits or some other way to make sure that they're resourced and that they are encouraged to make the right choice. And right now what we're seeing with failed leadership in the state of Texas, we definitely need to do something at the federal level and support people like Rochelle Garza to make sure that they make it to their position as our next Attorney General, and support them and stand by them and make sure that we include our partners at a national level and build a coalition to push for what's right when it comes to protecting families, protecting women, and standing by access to life-saving care.
I think I preempted this question also. Again, we all have a constitutional right to travel. We are not prisoners in our own states, okay? So I would make sure to use the powers of this office to make that very clear, to issue opinions that are consistent with the Constitution, and to make sure that businesses can continue to thrive in the state of Texas. You know, you cannot have a healthy business, you cannot have a healthy economy if you don't have a healthy workforce. So we need to make sure we are doing both things. It's not an or question, it's an and question. We can do both. And that is what I'm trying to focus on in this office, is making sure that we serve the people of Texas, that we serve the best interests of Texas, and that we create a Texas that people can thrive in. That's the Texas I grew up in. And I want to make sure that's the Texas my daughter grows up in.
One point that also comes to mind when it comes to people's right to travel is your right to privacy. Right now what we're seeing is that some people are getting tracked due to their planning apps and apps that women use in order to track their own health. And it's vital and important that we stand by the defense of our privacy as individuals, and this could be done at the federal level.
Absolutely, thank you. And currently in the United States has the highest maternal death rate compared to similarly developed countries. However, Texas has a higher average maternal mortality rate than the entire US, and Texas is currently ranked dead last in the health insurance coverage for women. So please elaborate on what can be done to address both abortion case access and expanding equitable and quality healthcare for all women.
Absolutely. So I think it's important that we recognize that there are so many barriers to access very basic healthcare already here in South Texas. And so we need a push to make sure that Medicare is expanded to protect more people. We also need a push for the ability for us to negotiate with Big Pharma to make sure that people are able to afford the medication that they need. Democrats were able to push for a cap on insulin, and this is a step forward, but we need to keep pushing further. And we also need to make sure that we recognize that this is because the failure of Republican leadership that's had a stranglehold in Texas for about 30 years now. And we could change this. Right now, the power is in our hands to get the right leaders into office and to make sure that people who actually care about people are the ones who are standing up for us, the ones who are representing us, and the ones who are sharing the voices from the people of our communities to expand access to health care. While I firmly believe that access to abortion care is a fundamental right because that's health care, we need to be pushing on all fronts. Thank you.
Well, there's some things that the state of Texas can do is Medicaid expansion. That's something that the governor has refused to expand. And that's something that I would advocate for, that we need to do. And we also need to address all those folks that don't fall under that expansion, because we've got a lot of people in the middle and they're unable to qualify for health care through that program. You know, as Attorney General, I would have powers to hold people accountable, right? That is what's going to be, what we need to focus on, is making sure that we have accountability and transparency in how things are done. And that means health insurance companies that are not delivering on what they promise. So I would make sure we hold bad actors accountable, prize gougers accountable, because that's how you help ordinary families get ahead. It impacts their pocketbooks. And that's what my concern is going to be in the Office of Attorney General.
I think it's safe to say that we're all just tired of a group of people who are used to congratulating themselves for their own failures and calling them success. And that's what we get when we look at the GOP right now. Everything.
And this question is from the audience member, I'm sorry, and it's addressed to Michelle, asking if there will be a debate.
I love that question because I ask that question every single day. And I am pushing for it. That's why we are having these town halls. That's why we are organizing to have open conversations with our community. I firmly believe that a community, an electorate that is well informed and that has communication and connections with those who are working to earn their vote is when we have a stronger democracy. I firmly believe that the stronger democracy we have only is dependent on how hard we're going to fight for it. So I've been fighting for a debate, and I know that I have some partners in the community who have also been pushing to host these very important conversations for our community to hear from the candidates in this race. And I know the press has also been pushing my opponent, and Monica de la Cruz. And to me, it's very clear that she has no confidence in what she's saying, her platform, which I'm still very confused about what it is in the first place. And this is just telling. This is just telling of who this person will be if they were to get into office. So this is very clear. This is a very clear signal to us that Monica de la Cruz does not care about the people of Texas District 15. She wants our electorate and our voters to be uninformed, and she'd rather hide behind propaganda and millions of dollars spent to depict our home as if it's a place of chaos and spread lies. And so this is why we need to show up to vote. This is why we need to vote for Michelle Vallejo. Y vamos por 15.
I know that question was for Michelle, but so I do not believe Ken Paxton will agree to debate me, and it's because he's more concerned about staying out of prison than he is about answering the questions of everyday Texans. And if y'all don't know, he's been under criminal indictment for 7 years without trial for specifically tricking his own clients into bad investments that benefited him. So 83% of cases in the state of Texas that are cases like his are resolved within 1 year. So tell me why Ken Paxton hasn't answered for his.
His friends are covering him.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is the person that I'm running against. I do not believe we have called for a debate, but I do not believe he will answer that call because he does not want to answer for anything.
Yeah, you might get served.
Raises the question, why are you answering? And this is to Ms. Michelle. Can you speak a little about the other crisis at the border, American citizens who cross the south into Mexico to set affordable health care?
Okay, so to understand this question, that question is the crisis of people being forced to cross over to Mexico to access affordable health care.
Right.
Yeah. So this is part of our culture. People don't seek medical attention until they're in a lot of pain and in grave danger. And because it's so hard to not only take a day off from work, but to navigate the healthcare system here. Even people who are insured, even people who have the best insurance, even veterans, even retired teachers, everybody I talk to can't get what they need when it comes to their healthcare. And so a lot of people go over to Mexico because that's the only way they could afford not just medication, that's the only way they could afford specialized treatment, but that's also the only way they could afford going to the dentist and getting their eyes checked and getting prescription glasses. And so we should not stand by this. We cannot allow for this to be okay just because it's the way we've always done it. And it's time. We are in the 21st century. We are about 20 years already now. This is a quarter of a century that we're into the new millennium. And ya basta. We deserve healthcare to be accessible, and that means that it's here in our home in South Texas. I get so upset when I hear that people have to drive to Dallas, Fort Worth, to Houston, to San Antonio, to other states to be treated for the conditions that they're living with every single day. And the reason why I get so upset is because that's my mom's experience. She had to leave far away from our home in order to get specialized treatment. And what this would do was cause more trauma for her. And that's why my parents had to start a business, because they were not able to hold regular 9-to-5 jobs. Because suddenly she would have to go to the emergency room. And that was the journey for her. It was very traumatic. It was very hard. I was 4 years old when my mom got sick. And for pretty much my entire life, I thought everyone's mom was sick. Because that was what was normal for me. But I don't want our families to live like that. I want our families to thrive, to be healthy, to succeed. And while I know that economic justice is very important to fight for, we need good working jobs, good paying jobs, we need access for opportunity for people to create careers that they're proud of and that pay for the things that they need. Fundamentally, what we need to do is make sure our community is healthy. Because viable and healthy economy starts with viable and healthy people. That's the first thing.
Thank you very much for saying that, Michelle, because in all honesty, this is just economic segregation right now in practice. Because they are telling us, the Republicans are telling us down here in the Rio Grande Valley and everywhere across the country that we are not worthy of having health care in our own homes, and we are being forced to go somewhere else. all because they think that we are undeserving, only the rich.
Thank you. And this is also for Michelle. Do you support Medicare for all and a free public college?
Yes, absolutely. That's what we're fighting for. What I love to share is I'm not just fighting for solutions. I'm fighting for opportunity. I firmly believe that being the border region, we are the richest economic corridor of the world. But why are we hurting? Why don't we have access to healthcare? Why are people having to work 2, 3, 4 jobs to make ends meet? Because the investments are not in the people. And that's enough, you know? We don't have leadership right now that's standing up firm enough to get things done. And so I'm so excited. If you could tell, I have this fight in me, probably because there hasn't been a debate. But, you know, I'm ready to bring this fight to Congress because I know that I'm not going alone. I didn't get here. I didn't get to this seat by myself. I actually didn't even decide to begin with that I was going to run. Other people had these thoughts. My community saw that in me, and they told me, Michelle, we're going to support you. But we need a leader to stand up right now. We need to make sure that radical Republicans like Monica de la Cruz have no chance. And what's so awesome is that right now, in this campaign, we're leading. Yeah. So organize, bring people out to vote, and let's do this.
That's a campaign slogan right there. We're leading, they're cowering.
Yeah. I don't have a comment on the specific question, but just to reiterate the fact that South Texas, your vote matters more now than ever. So your voices are going to count so much more, and people are going to be writing about us and what we decide in this election. So it's critically important that you show up for Michelle, that you show up for my campaign. I'm also in a really tight race, and I think that we can actually do something meaningful for the people of Texas, for the people of the United States when it comes to Michelle's position, and really truly representing the best interests of our community.
And after these questions, there will be closing remarks from the candidates. And it is, what would young women who feel unsafe and helpless in Texas do to a loss of their rights? Feel? I think. Yeah, so what would you say, I guess, to women who feel unsafe and helpless in Texas due to the loss of their rights?
I know it could be very scary. I know you could feel very lonely, but you're not alone. You're not alone. We are fighting for you. Reach out to someone who you care about, who you feel cares about you, someone who you trust, and speak up. Speak up because you're not alone. There are so many women in our community that right now are navigating very challenging situations by themselves because they're afraid. But what fear does is it creates even more danger. So please don't be afraid. There are women like me, there are women like Rochelle Garza, and we're here to stand by you. We're here to protest. We're here to make noise. We're here to make sure that you have every protection and every right in place because you matter so much. That's my message.
So in 2017, I represented a young woman who was in immigration detention in South Texas, Jane Doe. She was 17, she fled her home country in Central America, and she came to the United States looking for the protection of our country. And it was when she was in immigration detention that she found out she was pregnant and decided that she was not in a position to become a parent. She was in detention, she was in a new country, she was alone, and she couldn't become a parent. And so she did everything she needed to do to make sure that she, got the judicial bypass, because in Texas we have to have a judicial bypass if you're underage. And I was her attorney in that case. And the Trump administration stepped in and tried to stop her from enacting her decision. And I stood by her side, and a lot of other folks did too. A lot of community members. We stood by this young woman, And we made sure we fought back the Trump administration. We fought back Ken Paxton, who tried to meddle in the case. And we fought back Brett Kavanaugh in the only abortion case he heard as an appellate judge. He made a decision that would have forced my client, Jane Doe, to have a child against her will. But we beat all of these people. We won. We won for this young woman, and we won for every single teen that is in immigration detention today. They are all given the Garza notice, and they are told that the federal government cannot prevent them from having access to an abortion. And that is in effect today across the United States. That is the power that one individual has. Someone that people in power do not believe matter. She stood up, and we stood up with her. And that is what's happening in Michelle's race. That is what's happening in my race. That is what is happening across this country. And we are all a part of it. We are all standing together, so no one is alone. Don't ever feel alone. We are with you.
So, thank you so much for being here. It's such a beautiful experience to be able to talk with our community and connect with our community on an issue that's so critical. And we are less than 2 weeks away from polls opening. And we've been getting messages from people already mailing in their ballots. So people are voting already in the state of Texas. This is an amazing moment. This is so exciting. El poder lo tenemos en las manos. We have to come out and vote. Bring everybody out. Drag people out. Be annoying. It's fine. I give everybody permission. Tell everybody to vote for Rochelle Vallejo. Y vamos por 15. Woo!
There is a lot at stake right now, and I want to say it's all bright, but it is not, unfortunately. The person I am running against sent a letter. Once he started seeing the polling data showing that he's about to lose this race, he sent a letter to all the elections officials across the state telling them they should open up the ballots to inspection to whomever requests it. That's against state and federal law. He is literally telling people to break the law. So the question that should be on our minds is, what is Ken Paxton going to do on November 9th? And he's not just going to do that in our race. He's going to do it in a lot of other races. So our democracy is on the line. So get up and vote. First of all, make sure you're registered to vote. I know we just passed the deadline, but double check your registration. Make sure have a plan to vote, and bring, 10 people with you. You can do that. Everyone knows 10 people. Because we gotta win these elections by big margins, okay? We gotta win by big numbers, and we do that with people power. That's what Michelle has been doing down here. That's what I have been doing across the state of Texas. And I am gonna continue doing that, because we need to win these elections for the future of our democracy, the future of the state, and the future of our families. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Alrighty, everybody. Again, one more time, a huge round of applause for these amazing women with us here tonight. I have a few very important announcements for everybody. I'm hoping you're angry, energized, but more important, ready to fight for our community. We are less than 26 days away from November the 8th. 26 days. And we need volunteers to knock on doors, to call voters. We are actually having a Get Out the Vote rally on October 22nd, which is a Saturday, at 9 a.m. at Archer Park, and we need you all there with us. Now, if you're interested in volunteering in any capacity, whether it's knocking on doors, making phone calls, please feel free to visit any of our staff that's waving clipboards over there in the corner, and they can help sign you up for a shift. I know a lot of you are already volunteering with us, and we're so grateful to our fantastic volunteers. And our doors are always open to welcome more, so we hope you join us in this last final stretch. I know Michelle will be excited to see you there. I will be excited to see you there. So mark your calendar, October 22nd, 9 a.m. at Archer Park. Thank you so much, everybody. We are also going to have an opportunity to take photos really quickly with the candidates. So if you're interested, please feel free to line up over here where our backdrop is, and we'd be more than happy to take your photo. Again, one huge round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
I know it's an old expression, but I'm looking forward to